Hi, John with Citizen Survival Plan here. Today we are going to attempt to debunk the myth of the long-term bug-out bag solution. This doesn't count if you have a cabin in the woods near a lake or whatever and you could survive there forever, like whatever. This is people who think they're going to bug out with a bug-out bag and just go live in the woods. We're going to go over water, food, hygiene and medicine issues, security concerns with this, and I'm going to go over some of my final thoughts at the end. So let's go. Okay, so let's start with water. You pack the bug out bag, you probably have a water filter in it, of course, or you have one of those cook stoves where you make a fire, which I don't recommend. And you are gonna let's just say you're gonna boil water. Let's start with that one. You can, but you're still gonna need to make enough water for hygiene and washing your hands and stuff. Because remember, these people think that they're gonna be hunting and trapping food, so we're gonna need a lot of water to wash our hands and whatnot. Also, the water filters, once they freeze, they're done. So basically, if you have one of those gravity filters, or you probably wouldn't be able to bring a Berkey out, but the Berkey filters can't freeze either. So if it's winter time, you're not going to be able to leave water filtering overnight for you the next morning or anything, because you are going to need to sleep with the filter. You're going to have to keep it warm from freezing, because once that freezes, your clean water's done, unless you have a big pot where you can boil water and stuff. The water tabs, if you packed water tabs, you're just going to run out at some point. You just can't do it for that long. I would argue that you would need a wood stove in the woods with you to make enough to boil enough clean water to be able for all the things. And this kind of goes into hygiene, but I'm going to get into that later. But these are all compounding issues you're going to be dealing with all at once. So everything I talk about today is everything's going to be happening at once. All these issues are going to hit you all at one time. You're going to have to deal with all of them right then. Yeah, so you can't freeze a water filter. Also, if you have a water filter and you're like, oh, it filters 50,000 gallons, and you are keeping it warm and not letting it freeze, and that's just winter. I know summer is different. But how long is that filter really going to last? I don't know how good those estimates really are on that. When does the filter start becoming less effective and all of a sudden you get sick? And this goes into medicine. Like, if you get sick, you need antibiotics. So you're just in the woods. So even I have mentioned this earlier, even those like cheesy action movies from the 80s, I think it was Red Dawn, where they were all living in the woods because it was, the town had been taken over by, I think it was Russians, maybe? I can't remember. It's been a minute since I've seen the movie. They were going into this old 80s cheesy movie, like, even acknowledged, they were going into town for supplies and whatnot. Like, they would get toothbrushes and stuff, and, they needed boots and ammo and all kinds of stuff from town. They had to kind of sneak in and blend in and get stuff. So just keep that in mind as you're going through this, too. I mean, just a funny thing. Yeah, so that's it. I'll acknowledge if you had a pretty big pot with you and you were able to make like a little fire station, you could boil enough water to keep drinking. And maybe hygiene. I'll leave it at that, maybe. But we're going to move on. Hold on. Okay, so food. You can only carry so much food in your bug out bag. You're eventually going to run out. I know people they're just ready for this one. I'm going to hunt a deer. Okay, so let's go on here. So let's just say you hunt a deer and you do kill a deer. Well, you're in the woods. We need to store the food now too, because we can't kill a deer every day. We're not going to also be that lucky. So also, you're only going to be like eating meat, I guess. You're just living off deer in the woods. I don't know. How are you going to store this? You would need to bring all kinds of canning supplies with you. You need to, again, build big fires to start boiling water and whatnot to can this meat. I don't know that much about canning, I'll admit. I think you would need some sort of salt or something to to put into the solution to can it, right? I mean, somebody can make a comment about that. I'm no expert on canning. I'm really not. But I do know that you need a bunch of equipment and all those bottles you got to carry out to the woods and can, and the, you know, the pressure canner or cooker or whatever you got. Because you're not going to have a refrigerator. Remember, we're living in the woods. We just bugged out to the woods with all you know, our bug out bag and rifle. So you're eventually going to run out of food. You're going to have to start hunting. That's going to be difficult. It's going to be really difficult to store it. You're going to need, somebody mentioned in one of these comments too, I wanted to read it. This was somebody who I made fun of my video about the guy who's just going to go hunt a deer when shit hits the fan, right? So basically this guy was like, shoot a deer, quarter the deer, and then you need a sled to drag it back to wherever you're going to go with it. So you need one of those big deer sleds or wagons or whatever. And then you cook it in a smoker. So I just bugged out. I don't have a smoker. So I would need something like that to smoke this deer, to preserve it or make jerky out of it or something. I need equipment, water, soap. I need all this stuff to process this deer. I mean, you could kill a deer and eat one meal out of it and just waste the rest of it. I mean, that's an option. That's going to be very wasteful. I know that you wouldn't really care in the shit hit the fan scenario, but yeah, I mean, you'd have to kill one every meal or something to eat it. Like, it's just, don't consider just solving one of the problems I'm bringing up. Solve every one of them. So, yeah, and hunting and only eating meat for prolonged periods, yeah, that's going to be an issue. That's going to be vitamin deficiency and stuff. All right, so another thing that people also say is they're going to start fishing, and let's just assume you even brought one of those like crappy little fishing emergency kits that's probably going to break and wear out and not work for very long. Or screw it, I'll give you this one. You brought a whole fishing tackle box and rod with you with your bug out bag. Let's just assume you did that. Again, you're only going to be eating like animals and fish at this point. Where I live, you cannot eat the fish out of the rivers and stuff. It's like too contaminated. It's not recommended. I think there's been some people that have. But yeah, that's going to be a problem too. And also, if like shit has hit the fan and we have like water factories and stuff that have like broke and burned, and you have like, I don't know, prisons that are near rivers that now are just dumping sewage or something into the water, yeah, that's going to be a problem too. All those fish are going to be contaminated. You don't know what you can eat. So that's a big thing with fishing. A lot of people said they're going to fish. Also, fishing takes a long time. You might not catch a fish that day, and you still have to bring it back, cut it up, and cook it. You know, I wanted to bring this up too, though. We had a little picnic, just me, my brothers, and my daughter, and, you know, Grandpa came and stuff, and we brought out a propane oven, and I brought 5 gallons of water in like a spigot bucket thing, so we could, you know, wash our hands as we were just making the meat and cooking it. So we made like sausage and pancakes one morning, yeah, out, not in the woods, but like by a creek. It was like kind of like a picnic area, and we like did it up. We made food, and we used all 5 gallons of water, just like washing our hands and just washing utensils. And in fact, we didn't even wash the pan. We had to wash the pans when we got home. We didn't have enough water, and I wasn't about to wash them in the creek or whatever, but people just go out and have a picnic where you cook the food out there. See how much like equipment and stuff you need just to do that. I mean, these people are going to process deer and cook it and eat it all in the woods. I mean, I could go on for an hour about this problem. I'm going to try not to. But yeah, I mean, you're going to need cleanup supplies and canning supplies for this. I mean, it's just going to be very difficult. During shit at the fan, I will acknowledge you can kill a deer and bring it back to your house, and you could process it. If you had a smoker, you could smoke it. If you had a bunch of canning supplies and, you know, ways to store it in bags, if you were going to dehydrate it or something, I mean, it's entirely possible. So if you had, you know, you could run a dehydrator off a generator or one of those big 3,000 watt jackeries or something. Sure, I mean, it's possible. It's going to be hard, but it's going to be possible. But that's at your house at a location. Traps. So, same issue. You're not going to worry about carrying large animals. You're going to set up little traps for bunnies and stuff and cook them. I mean, same issue. It's just cutting animals up in the woods. I mean, this is. I would say if you're doing this, you've lost 90% of the fight. if you were trying to set up traps and survive off animals in the woods, and shit has hit the fan, you've lost 90% of the fight here. Did you bring like a big bottle of Dawn dish soap to wash your dishes off in the creek? And the creek water might not be safe either. So again, you're gonna need a big pot. You're gonna need boiling water basically 24/7, making enough water to clean dishes, hygiene, and drink. So I mean, think about how nasty some of these like animals that are in the woods, like diseases, and you're gonna have their blood all over you, and you're just gonna be fine. Like, I don't buy it, but okay, we're trying to debunk it here. So that's food. I think I kind of beat that one to death a little bit. I mean, it's just gonna gonna be basically impossible in the middle of the woods without a cabin and a smoker and whatnot. It just is. So yeah, let's move on. All right, so let's go over some of the hygiene and medicine problems you're going to have in bugging out to the woods shit hit the fan. So you're going to need to be able to clean large amounts of water. Think of just like the small skin issues and whatnot you have just living at your house. I mean, we've all ended up with like with ringworm or a rash or something. You just need a medicine to clean it up. Imagine these problems. You're living in the woods. They are going to exponentially be worse. Anyone with any kind of skin issues, even if you don't have skin issues, I don't, but we've all had something at some point in our lives. This is going to be way worse living in the woods, especially for your children. Your children are a little bit more sensitive than you. Did you pack like all kinds of medicines and antibiotic ointments and stuff with you in your bug out bag? Probably not. This is why I always say, like, the bug out bag is more of a resource bag. It's a limited resource bag to get you somewhere. So, yeah, you're going to need lots of water to keep yourself as clean as possible. I mean, bug bites, like, you know, hornets or whatever can sting you. You're living in the woods. So you're going to want to shower and clean yourself somewhat. I mean, not like a shower like you get at home, but you're going to need to take towels or something and just clean yourself up. So this is going to be a big problem. And this is also, I think this is another section, but I'm going to say it here too. The clothing that you're wearing. How many pair of underwear did you pack in your bug out bag? Like, you're going to get, especially it's summer and you're sweating, or even in the winter, all that is just going to cause infection on your skin when you're out in the woods living like that. Dirty underwear and clothes, shirts. You're going to have rashes under your armpits and stuff. I mean, you can't pack that much soap with you to wash this stuff. You can wash it in water, but you're not going to have clean clothes like you have now. So that's a big one. And especially if you're bugged out in the winter, like you're going to need lotions and creams and stuff. I don't really use a lot of that stuff, but in the winter, sometimes my hands get cracked. Imagine living in the woods in the winter. How bad your skin is going to be. You are going to get infected. And this brings us up to, like, medicine. Like, you need antibiotics when you get infections. And breathing in cold air in the middle of the winter, bugged out in the middle of the woods, I mean, it's just, you're going to get some sort of lung infections and stuff. This isn't like one overnight thing. This is like multiple nights. Like, you're going to be coughing, and imagine doing all these extraneous tasks while you're sick and infected with no medicine. I'll say this. This has been done before. Let's just say Indians, you know, the Native American Indians and stuff. But they lived in tribes, and everyone did very specific, important things. Gatherers, hunters, people that cleaned in the woods and stuff. I mean, like, you're going to have a lot of very knowledgeable and smart people. I mean, didn't the Indians even make their own medications and, like, salves and stuff to keep themselves healthy? We don't have that knowledge anymore. And I will say, again, you might have someone who comments on here who can solve maybe this problem specifically. And let's say they're like a master medicine maker of, like, natural things. Solve every other issue and this is what I'm trying to get people to think about. There's probably a couple of people that could solve one or two of these problems, and they somehow have a way to, like, make amoxicillin in the woods. Oh, I know how to make amoxicillin. I could do that in the woods. Like, okay, fine. Even if I know that's bullshit, I'll say, okay, well then solve every other problem. All these are going to be compounding. So I think that covers medicine. Someone is going to need antibiotics at some point. You're going to need to be going into a town or somewhere where there's resources if you're bugged out, no matter what, especially for medicine. Okay, so here are some of the security concerns. People are like, oh, I could bring a tent, or I can make a hot tent out in the woods, or whatever. I don't really want to be defending myself, family, wife. Let's say we even brought like an AR-15 with us or something. I don't want to defend us in a soft tent living in the woods. I mean, I think everyone can agree that we'd want to be in a structure, house, or something with walls and stuff around us. Consider all these people who are saying this, that they're going to bug out into the woods and live there for a prolonged period of time. Even 6 months or 1 month is a long time. You're going to be in the elements with your equipment. I know guns are tough and they got oil on them and stuff, but even the finest rifles, pistols, shotguns in the world are going to succumb to the elements in some way or another. Like, did you pack a cleaning kit and, multiple cans of oil for your rifles to keep them working? Your ammunition is going to start getting corrosive stuff on it. We've all seen nasty ammo before. It's going to start looking like that. If you are in the elements and you say your chest rigs and with your mags and stuff get rained on a couple times, they get hot and then they get cold. And, this is not good for your equipment. Can it survive a couple months like this? I mean, absolutely. Probably, maybe even a year, this stuff would be okay. But, it's just going to start getting tough on your equipment, too. You need to get out of the elements. I know people are like, oh, I'll put it in my tent. Okay. Well, eventually, if you're setting up traps and you're collecting stuff, let's even assume you've even made it this far, where you're in the woods and you're now setting up traps for small game and stuff, and you have your equipment on you as you're walking through the woods, probably, at least something. Your pistol or whatnot, it's just going to be hard on it. And I would say a rifle or whatever equipment is going to be a little bit damaged by the end term of this. Yeah, tools and stuff to disassemble and clean or whatever. If you drop your rifle or something, you're not going to have your tools with you. Again, I don't want to be living in the woods trying to defend my family in like a soft tent or something. I think more realistically, instead of bugging out to the middle of the woods, if shit really has hit the fan and fires and this, I'd find a small building somewhere that I could take over. Maybe like a small, church or something. Anything, a storage locker, just whatever. I want to get out of the elements. That would be more ideal than living in the dirt in the woods with a soft tent. I want something that I can protect and kind of look around and look after and take over if I need to. I think that's going to be a lot more realistic than having a soft tent in the woods. Okay, this is a small one, but it's still something I need to bring up. Weather concerns and clothing. So everyone's got their summer bug out bag equipment and then their winter stuff. We're like everyone we live in a 4-season place here in the United States where April is still cold, but then May gets hot. So what if the emergency happens in April? Do I bring my winter clothes or my summer stuff? And this also gets onto your clothes and stuff are going to wear out. You're going to rip a boot. You're going to, something. You need to have other stuff stockpiled. At our houses, we have multiple pair of boots and stuff for us. You can't pack multiple pairs of boots with all the other stuff that I just mentioned, So, bugging out like that is going to be just difficult. Just clothing logistics. It's going to be so difficult to bring both things. Again, you're going to be going somewhere. You're going to have somewhere where you have stockpiled caches of equipment and whatnot. This just bugging out here is just not going to work out. Especially, one other point I want to get to here. Getting snowed in or extreme weather events while you're in the woods. I don't know. One time we were hiking, and this happened to me. We were hiking in the woods, and the wind kicked up real bad. And a tree, a relatively big tree, this big round, fell right in front of me. Almost hit me. If it would have hit me, I probably would have ended up in the hospital. Just missed me, I'm lucky. But imagine living in the woods during like weather events and the wind kicks up and, you know, a tree falls on you. That is entirely possible. It really is. Also, snow. If you get a big snow and you're just stuck in the woods, I mean, hikers have been killed by getting snowed in. So keep that in mind. If you're trying to bug out to the woods and all of a sudden you're caught in a big snowstorm, you can't do all these hunting tasks and collecting your traps. Again, assuming you've even made it that far, it's just going to be that's a little bit more probably not what I'm worried about, but certainly could happen. I mean, 100% could happen. Yeah, your clothing and stuff is going to wear. I just want to reiterate down this. What clothes do I bring? You know, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough, especially because we're talking about prolonged here. Like, a month went by and now it's hot. I have all this winter clothing with me now. Like, super tough, super difficult. This is going to be a difficult. I know this is a small one, but I wanted to bring it up. All right, so here's my final thoughts on this. Can it be done? I would say it's almost a death sentence, but sure. I mean, maybe for a little while. No more than, I would say, 1 or 2 months, in my opinion. If you are someone who's about to get into the comments and say, I could do this, I know how to do all this, I can make a winter hot tent, I can live there forever, I will never need medicine, I'll never need anything, and I'm just gonna bring a big stove out there with me and I'm just gonna live. I would say the people who are commenting this on YouTube are not the people who are actually doing this. The people who are doing this probably would never comment on this channel because they don't have internet access and actually are living in the woods. That's my final thought. I think that you can bug out, but I still think you're going to, even if you have a little camp or something somewhere, you're still going to be going around the towns and getting supplies to bring back to your camp to continue living there. That would be probably the most realistic thing, but bugging out and just staying in the woods for that long is not possible. And I also want you to consider all of the issues that I have brought up now with, you know, water concerns, killing and eating your own food, which I think is pretty much impossible. All of the just processing the meat and storing it and saving it and canning it while you're bugged out is just going to be immensely difficult. All right, I think that's it. This is John with Citizen Survival Plan reminding you that you're probably not going to bug out to the woods.